Guys, what's going on? Welcome to Serial at Midnight. My name is Heath, and if you hear that sound in my voice, yes, I am sick. If you joined us for our Labor Day live stream, which went for nearly 2 hours, thank you so much for those who showed up and participated in that. But if you watched that, you know that I was kind of dealing with some things. I was kind of struggling with fighting off some sickness, but after that live stream, I woke up the next morning and I felt like I'd been hit by a truck. So we are going to get through this together. Here's the facts. I recently had a birthday. It was one of those milestone birthdays. I'm not going to tell you which one, but I got some cool physical media for my birthday. And I know that we love to celebrate that sort of thing here. We love to celebrate the pop culture and analog. So I'm sitting next to a lot of really cool, really nerdy, some of it kind of obscure things that I would like to talk to you about. And we'll just kind of celebrate cool old stuff. So some of our more entertaining videos, I'm not going to say our better videos, but some of our more entertaining videos have happened while I was very sick. So the Hammer horror box set unboxing is the one that immediately comes to mind, and I was super loopy during that. So right off the bat, these are not in any particular order. I'm not going to say who gave me what, because I'm just not going to, but I'm kicking it off with this. This is the He-Man and the Masters of the Universe mini comic collection. I believe this was published in 2015. Some of you who've watched these videos for a long time and have been following Serial at Midnight know that I love He-Man. You also know that as a child, I was not allowed to watch He-Man or play with He-Man, so now it's kind of like that forbidden fruit, and I have a mad passion for He-Man. And if you want to know more about that, I think we talked about it in our 80s tunes video, also in our Turmoil in the Toy Box, The Book That Ruined Childhood video. But this is, so back in the 80s, in like 1982, the toy line launched from Mattel, and it predated the cartoon series by a couple of years. So for the first couple of years of the He-Man toy line, there were no cartoon adventures to explore. And so the toy makers had this idea, well, let's include a mini comic explaining the world and the characters, and will spur children's imaginations so that they will know what they're playing with. It set the world up. When you need to set a world up and you don't have a cartoon to do it, because you know the 80s, every toy line had a cartoon. So they do this mini comic idea. And it's interesting because the first couple of stories are not even comics. They're more like storybooks. So this is the one that kicks the whole thing off. It's He-Man and the Power Sword. And they're more like storybooks instead of comics. But really cool artwork. You can see early character designs for characters that didn't quite look the way that they would continue to look later. Like Castle Grayskull has like a monkey mouth, more of a, it's just different. Things look different. Like Teela is sometimes blonde. But all that goes to say that I had never read these mini comics because of what I was telling you. And going back and revisiting these, it's so interesting to see how much they were just making it up as they go, and you can see the evolution. You know, and there's a lot of text in here. There's interviews with artists. Like there are some big name talents that worked on these. I think Bruce Timm worked, you know, Batman the Animated Series. I think he did some work here. Mark Texiera. So they're not like cutting edge by today's standards, but for the early to, you know, for the 80s, they're pretty cool. And they have a lot of interviews in here, and they kind of talk about how we were making it up as we go. It was just a paid gig. You know, it's so interesting that the stuff from our childhood, if you watch The Toys That Made Us, so many times the things that we hold dear, that we have such a personal connection with, it was just made to sell units. And He-Man worked because it sold I think they said like 70 million at some point. Like they were selling 70 million figures. It's a lot. There's a lot of He-Man stuff out there. So this is really cool. It's a revelation to see where some of this stuff started. Like at the beginning, instead of He-Man having like the Adam persona that transforms into He-Man by the power of Grayskull, he's like a member of a savage barbarian tribe, and he leaves his tribe to go fight evil. And it's different. And he, like his armor, he has different armors with different powers. So while he is strong, he has like a force field armor. It's very cool, very interesting. And it's really great to have every mini comic that was ever published from 1981 all the way up through the Masters of the Universe Classic line just a few years ago. It's all in here, almost 1,200 pages. I highly recommend it if you're interested. Moving on. I got the collection of mana, however you want to say it. These are 3 RPGs from the classic era of, so 2 of them, Secret of Mana and Trials of Mana, are from the Super Nintendo era. And then the first one, there was kind of a prequel game. Well, so in the US, it was Final Fantasy Adventure, and it was a Game Boy game. And it's kind of, it predated the Mana games, but it's very simple. I think it's like a 10-hour game, but it's an RPG adventure kind of a game, kind of like a Legend of Zelda sort of thing. And so all 3 of those games are presented on here. This was a download. It was available as a download before the physical copy came out. But if you know anything about Serial at Midnight, you know that we are going to always grab the physical copy because, for posterity, because we want this stuff. Plus, look at the beautiful artwork. And there's actually, it has a, I don't know if I guess this is a reversible sleeve, but it has like the art only sleeve. Hopefully you guys can see that. But it's beautiful. And I'm still working my way through the first game, the Final Fantasy Adventure game. I have not yet got to the Mana games proper, but I'm having a really good time with it. It's so interesting to see how far we've come, and I think it's important to revisit our roots as often as possible, which is one of the reasons that we have this channel, so that we can revisit our roots and shout out cool older things that not necessarily everybody is talking about. And so on that note, cool older things that not necessarily everyone is talking about, I would like to mention the OSS 117 collection. This is from Kino Lorber. So it has now this has a red spine, but this one has can you guys see that? Yeah, that one has the traditional, so that would match with everything else on the shelf. So what these are spy movies from France that feature a character that he's like an American secret agent, but he's French because the novels were French, so he's American, but he's of French descent. Like I think in the books he lives in New Orleans, he speaks French, and it was a way. Here's the interesting thing: these movies are from the '60s. The first movie on this collection is OSS 117 is Unleashed, 1963, and it was clearly competing with James Bond. And so that's kind of what these movies are, is like French James Bond movies. But the interesting thing about that is that the character is older than James Bond. There were novels of this character before Ian Fleming started writing James Bond books. Not that that necessarily means anything. It doesn't. I'm not saying anyone was copying anybody else, but it's just interesting because this is kind of not really talked about, right? You hear a lot about James Bond, you hear a lot about the spy spoofs and stuff like this, but these are original films, or it's an original character that actually is older than Bond. And the next movie on the collection is 1964's Panic in Bangkok, 1965 Mission for a Killer, 1966 Mission to Tokyo, and 1968 Double Agent. You can kind of see that James Bond globe-trotting sort of thing. And in the first 2 movies here, now as I should point out, there is an earlier OSS 117 movie. It's from a different company. It's not included in this set. These all come from Gaumont, which is a French company, one of the big studios, Gaumont. So there is an earlier movie that's not here with that character, but it was really after Dr. No came out with Sean Connery that everybody was like, what do we have to compete with this? We want a piece of this. And so these come along. And in the first 2 movies, our secret agent, Hubert Bonsoir de la Bath. Okay, I'm going to try that again. No pronunciation sticklers. I'm doing my best and I'm sick. If your only comment is the correct pronunciation, your comment will be deleted. Be nice. Hubert Bonsoir, or Bonsoir de la Bath. His name's Hubert. Can we just go with that? His name's Hubert. And he is our main character, but he's played in the first 2 movies by Kerwin Matthews, who he was in the 1958 Sinbad movie, the first of the Sinbad movies with the Harryhausen monsters. It's big like stop motion monsters, hydras and things like that. And Kerwin Matthews, he's an American actor, and so it's interesting because these are in French. There's no dub. It's French with English subtitles. And he doesn't speak French, so he's speaking English, and he's been dubbed in French, and you can tell he's been dubbed. So it's just really interesting. We have an American actor playing an American French person who is speaking English and is dubbed into French. It's very convoluted. It's like, why didn't they just get a French star? But I guess Kerwin Matthews had star appeal in multiple markets. So these are very, very cool. The slipcover is exactly the same, so there's not much to show there. There's not really any special features to speak of for these. I don't think there's any documentaries or biographies or anything like that. It's pretty much just the movies. But I've watched the first one so far, and I really like it. And I understand that they get more and more of what they're chasing, that more of that Bond globetrotting thing as they go. But the one that I watched was very hard-boiled. In a lot of ways, it was almost like a noir. It kind of takes place in real time. And it's about the OSS 117 is unleashed. And it has this huge underwater confrontation at the end of the movie. All shot underwater, and it predates. Thunderball is the one with all that's the Bond movie with all the underwater stuff, right? And it predates Thunderball. This is 1963. So it's just interesting how this stuff was kind of just in the zeitgeist. Like, we would attribute underwater fight scenes to Thunderball, but here's a movie that predates it. We would attribute spy fiction, the spy movie boom, the spy fiction boom, to Ian Fleming, to James Bond. Here's something that predates it. It's just interesting. The further you dig into things like this, you realize that very little is actually as cut and as dry as we like to think. And it's a lot muddier. Things influence other things, and they feed off, sometimes they feed back and forth to create a whole genre, a whole wide genre. So I think it's really cool. I got the Magnificent Seven collection. Now, I have the Magnificent Seven on Blu-ray. I think I have the Magnificent Seven on DVD in a Steve McQueen multi-pack. And then I have the Magnificent Seven Blu-ray. But now I have the Magnificent Seven collection, which has the first movie on it, but it also has all 3 sequels, which I've never seen. Return of the Magnificent Seven from 1966. No. Yeah. Guns of the Magnificent Seven from 1969, and the Magnificent Seven Ride from 1972. We will talk about Magnificent Seven in an upcoming Westerns Spotlight, so I'm not going to talk too much about this, but this is something I've been meaning to pick up for a long time, and I just haven't. And it's cheap. I think this was like $16 for 4 movies. Every movie gets its own Blu-ray. They have not compiled films onto discs. Each movie gets its own individual Blu-ray. So it's a 4-disc set, and it was like $16. I bought it for myself. I got some money. I bought it for myself. I also bought for myself Al Pacino's Serpico. I'm a big fan of this movie, but I only had the DVD, and this dropped down to like $7 or something like that, and that's worth picking up. So I grabbed the Blu-ray for it. It's one of my favorite. Hold on. The kind Al Pacino eyes, just like, I don't know. This is interesting, right? But I love this movie. This is one of my favorite Pacino movies. This is also a really good Sidney. Hold on, let me look at it so I say it right. Sidney Lumet. I don't think it's Lumet. I think it's Lumet. Network, and also Dog Day Afternoon. This is another one I have several times over, but they're all DVD. I have like an Al Pacino collection or something like that. Then I have the standalone. In fact, I think I even have a DVD double feature with these 2 movies together. But this is the special edition. This is the 40th anniversary edition, and it has, in addition to all the Blu-ray features, Dog Day Afternoon, it has this bonus disc. I Knew It Was You, rediscovering John Cazale. Now, John Cazale is the other actor from this movie. He was Fredo in The Godfather and The Godfather Part 2. I knew it was you, Fredo. You broke my heart. He only acted in 5 movies. According to this. I didn't know that, but according to the back of this box, it says that he only acted in 5 movies. And it doesn't say it on the back of this box. It might have said it in the description on the website. But it's a documentary about this cat right here, his career, where he went, why he only made a handful of movies and then dropped out. So that's really interesting to me. So that was worth it to me. Both of these were on sale recently, I think $11, and it'll get a 4K release at some point, but until it does, this is the best presentation of that movie with that bonus documentary. I was gifted Looker, which is a Warner Archive title, written and directed, let me make sure it's written as well so I don't speak out. Yes, written and directed by Michael Crichton. We talked about Michael Crichton just last week in our, what was it, the Hard Case Crime video that I did about finding those hard case crime novels, and I talked about how there were several, he wrote 8 novels under a pseudonym, under the name of John Lang, in the 60s and the early 70s. This is a 1981 movie. I'm going to be honest with you guys, I haven't heard of it. Someone gifted this to me, and I don't know much about it. I like Michael Crichton quite a bit. I know this is the era, this would have been coming off of Westworld, right, which was based on a Michael Crichton book or a screenplay. Like, he wrote that screenplay, right? I'm digging a hole here. I'm talking about things that I know a little bit about. But Looker it stars Albert Finney and James Coburn, who I think is fantastic. It also stars, I think it's Susan Day. Yeah, Susan Day. And it has a really interesting premise. I haven't watched it yet, but it's about that TV commercial actress is so seductive she could sell you anything. She's only a computer-generated illusion. What about the real beauty who is the computer's model? Sorry, you can't meet her. She and others like her have been murdered. So it's dealing with that early look at technology. We talk about, especially with the physical media, that video we put up recently, a lot of talking about technology lately and how technology, like, some people think that technology is going to kill physical media. And without getting too deep into that, it's just interesting. We've been having conversations about technology for a very long time. 1981, for example. Westworld was even earlier than that. So, in case you don't know, there's a TV series called Westworld, but it's based on a movie from the 70s. I think it's the 70s. Just pulling things out of my sick brain right now, but it's not a new idea. The idea of technology and when technology becomes, it's kind of the whole Terminator thing, like when technology becomes self-aware, that sort of thing. Anyway, what else do I want to talk about? On that note, I would also like to talk about this record. This is The Midnight, and the album is called Days of Thunder. And holy crap, you guys, I mentioned this in the live stream, but I believe this is from 2014. So it's 2 people, it's a synthwave band. I think one of them is from Denmark, and I think one of them is from Atlanta. I think that maybe they live in Los Angeles now, but it got started, so it's like a Deep South writer and a Denmark, someone from Denmark doing I don't know a whole lot about it, so I'm going to stop talking. But I will say, if you like the music in Stranger Things, if you like that Duffer Brothers approach, if you like synthesizers, the John Carpenter sort of thing, this is just oozing with that. That's all it is. It's very retro, keyboard. You guys, Days of Thunder, the title track, has the sexiest saxophone you will ever hear. Matthew Norris, buddy, if you're watching this video, I know you love saxophone. You got to check out Days of Thunder, the title track, Days of Thunder by The Midnight. And they have more albums since this one, so I'm going to have to check them out. Also, I will point out, it's a very beautiful red record. But I had to shout this out because this was part of my birthday gifts, and I love it. It's a fantastic album. I've listened to it multiple times. Okay, what else? Let's go with this. Vegas, the complete series. So I've never seen a single episode of this. I know that it's good. I know that it comes highly recommended. Robert Urich, rest in peace. I think in the 80s, most of us knew him as Spencer for Hire. The 90s, I'm not sure what you guys would know him from. But I knew him, like, when I was growing up, he was Spencer for Hire. But of course, he'd done a lot of things before that, and this is kind of a detective in Las Vegas, I believe, is basically the premise of this. Is like he's a private investigator. Welcome to the underbelly of Nevada's shimmering desert oasis. Between call girl murders, land disputes, business fallouts, and celebrity protection, Private Eye Dan Tana has his work cut out for him. So this is the complete series. I think it's 3 seasons, and I'm very happy to have this. I'm also very happy to have 2 more series on DVD. The complete Mission Impossible. This is the entire series. There's actually 3. There's a third tiny little box there. But this is the complete 60s Mission Impossible. And sometimes I talk about how we're living in a golden age for physical media. And I know that some people don't care. Some people are happy to stream. I don't think Mission Impossible is streaming, but if it is, okay, I understand. But when this set first, when Mission Impossible first came out on DVD, I think the seasons were like $50 or something like that. And then they compiled everything into this big box set that was like a barrel. It was like an oil drum kind of a thing. And you take the metal thing apart and the discs would be stacked inside. And I kind of always wanted that, but I did not like, it looked like the packaging was form over function. So it did not look like it was going to treat your discs very well. And it was also like $250. So then they did a slimmed down version of it, like a more streamlined version, I believe. That was also about $250. And that went out of print too. So this comes along and it's everything that's ever been combined. I think maybe there was one bonus disc that was included in that metal drum kind of set that was not included in anything else, which is fine. This is like $50. So, okay, so I'll tell you this. My wife, Bree brought me these for my birthday, and these came from Deep Discount, deepdiscount.com, and they were running a Paramount/CBS buy one, get one free sale. So I think they had it, I know on Amazon it's like $50 or $60. I think it was closer to 60. They had it for like $70. But it was buy one, get one free. So by buying this, she was also able to get The Fugitive, the complete series, for free. So if you work these 2 out, you're looking at about $35 per season. You guys, this Mission Impossible set is 46 DVDs. So 46 DVDs. Sometimes people will ask, hey man, why don't you rip all your discs to a Plex server? And then you don't have all that stuff behind you. First of all, I like the stuff behind me. I like looking at my library. But then there's things to talk about like this. I have many, many TV series. In addition to what you see behind me, this is also over here on this side. This is also over here on this side. And there are dozens of television box sets with 30, 40, 50 discs. I'm not going to do it. Like, I'm fine with the disc. It's not an inconvenience to me. But The Fugitive is 32 DVDs. And for those of you who might not know, the Harrison Ford movie with Tommy Lee Jones, where, you know, I want every outhouse, hen house, and whatever he says. Oh, Lord. That was based on... It was a movie remake of a TV show. So we've been doing this for a long time. We've always done this. Anything that was ever successful, they're like, let's see if we can tap into that brand recognition for The Fugitive with Harrison Ford and Tommy Lee Jones. That was this TV show from the 60s. Let's see if we have the exact years here. 1963 to 1967. And it's a very famous, very influential series about a man who witnessed the murder of his wife and by the one-armed man. Catch the Emmy-winning hit series The Fugitive from its pulse-pounding start to its epic finale. David Jansen stars as Dr. Richard Kimball, the dedicated doctor falsely accused and convicted of killing his wife. So the one-armed man did it. So he goes looking for... First of all, he's running. And then second, he's looking for the real killer, the one-armed man. So this was a multi-year set, a multi-year series. So... The Fugitive The Fugitive movie is obviously a condensed 2-hour version of what it took years on TV to do. So just in case you didn't know that The Fugitive was a classic television show, it is, and it's highly regarded, and I can't wait to get into this. I have so much TV, you guys. I'm also watching Mannix. I bought myself the complete series of Mannix. I think Mannix as seen in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. There's an episode of Mannix on television, but it's a 60s to mid 70s detective show. It's great for seeing vintage Los Angeles. But that's also, I think it was an 8-season show. I think it's 48 DVDs. Last, but certainly not least, this is going to be tricky on camera. It's this very shiny book called Vinyl Conflict. And it is The World of Godzilla Toys. And in it, it contains tons and tons of vintage, pictures of vintage Godzilla toys. And what this actually is, when I got to digging, this is a companion piece to an auction that was held in California, Long Beach, in California, in August of this year, of 2019, as I'm recording this video, at this auction house, Peekaboo Gallery. And Peekaboo Gallery, I looked them up on the internet, and they do amazing things. They have like tiki auctions, and they have posters for their auctions. So basically, as I understand it, everything that's in here was available for sale, available for bidding at this auction. And so all of the monsters are here, but it goes beyond just Godzilla. So check out, we have Jet Jaguar up here at the top. But it goes beyond, so there's the King Kong monster. I'm burning out fast. Mechagodzilla, Rodan, Mothra is in here. A lot of the ancillary stuff. Even, there's that Japanese movie. The title fails me, but it's like the gigantic, 30-foot tall Frankenstein monster. It's like the Universal monsters filtered through Japanese, and so it's like this 30-foot tall Frankenstein guy. He's in here, and so I guess people were allowed to come and bid on this stuff. And this is the commemorative photo book of everything that I guess was there. Either way, what it stands as now is like an archive of Godzilla toys, all in one place. It's like a repository of Godzilla goodness, which is so cool. So it's like a coffee table book just to thumb through with all these cool Godzilla images, things I've certainly never seen before. You go to a convention like Wonderfest or something like that in Louisville, and they have a lot of Godzilla vendors, and there's a lot of stuff like this. So here you could actually see it all in one place to get an idea of what's out there. They have suggested prices for what they're valued at. So it's super cool. There's one more thing. It's actually 2 items, but these are kind of personal, but I'm going to show you guys these anyway. Someone that is a very good friend gave me these personalized, let me bring the whole camera down, these personalized guitar straps. And one of them has the lyrics to John Lennon's Imagine hand engraved onto the guitar strap. And the other has the lyrics to Strawberry Fields Forever by the Beatles, because I'm a huge Beatles fan. Beatles are one of my absolute favorite anything. So these just mean a lot. Let me take you down, because I'm going to Strawberry Fields. So it's not quite everything, but it's everything that I'm willing to share. But it was a very cool physical media birthday. A look back and a look forward. So He-Man, stuff straight out of my childhood, or the childhood that I wanted. Not to be overly dramatic about it. The He-Man toys that I wanted to be playing with, and those comics that I wanted to be reading 35 years ago. So that was really cool. And then tons and tons of stuff. I think that the Midnight is one of those bands that they are the future. The past is the future. That's one of the things that we like to point out. Hopefully you can kind of tell. The future is ever influenced by the past. And so when we say pop culture and analog, so much of what is coming out now, Stranger Things, the TV shows, the movies, are not only influenced by the past, but they're an interpretation of that. There's the Joker movie that's coming out, the controversial Joker movie. If you're haven't heard of a Scorsese movie called The King of Comedy, it's essentially that is what it is, with maybe a Gotham City overlay. So much of, and you notice the patterns, the echoes of the past, the ripples of how these things resonated maybe even 100 years ago. You know, there may have been this silent film, and then it got remade in the sound era, then it got remade in the 50s, and then the 70s, and then the 90s, and it's just ripples. Nothing is really new. It's all a variation on something that's most always been done before. But that doesn't mean that it's not valuable. That doesn't mean that it's not good. We just love to dive deep into pop culture and analog. And so we present that to you here on a digital platform on YouTube. Guys, we made it. We did it. We survived this video. I did not sneeze. I did not pass out, which is cause for celebration. So I'm going to get out of here. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you very much. I'm going to come back. I'm probably going to take just a little bit of time off so I can get through this, and I will see you on the other side of this. So guys, take care. I really do appreciate you. Thank you so very much. Until next time, I will catch you later.